I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Amen. Woo!
Amen. Happy Easter again. Man, he's risen, right? Y'all didn't know what to say. Some of y'all were like. So we say, he is risen, and you say, where did that ever start? And how did you know to do that? I don't know. I'm glad you did. Well, welcome to East Baptist. We're excited you're here with us today to worship. There's a lot of stuff going on in our building. The Easter Bunny's been busy downstairs leaving stuff for kids. So if you come in late and you're little and you want to get on downstairs, we'll have somebody over here to take the kids down if you want to go. We have overflow seating in the coffee shop. That's all being broadcast in there. So if you don't have a sorry, these people were eager. Yeah, do you have an empty seat next to you? I mean, when we had pews, I couldn't verify it, but now I know. So we got one seat up here. Any single fella? Oh, and one over there. So hold your hands up there. What? What? Oh, yeah. Is anybody outside watching? Did y'all know we have an entire little living room set up outside on that side of the building? I went out there. There's like 15 people just kicked back their feet up. I'm like, good stuff. They call it Jesus' living room, so I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We won't do a lot of moving around this morning. So this morning, just turn around. Here's what you say to your neighbor this morning, okay? And this one's just going to shock you. Are you ready? Happy Easter. And Mark, get set, go.
Are y'all ready to worship this morning? This morning, I want to invite you. I want you to stand. I want to invite you to sing with me, and I just want you to worship him. There's only one name on the earth that's worth everything. I want you to clear your mind of everything. Because nothing on your heart is bigger than him. Nothing that you're going through, nothing, is something that he can't take care of. Because he's got it. So sing with me this morning. Your singing moves and shakes the ground. Your beckon brings the rain in drought. Your glory spins the earth around, and your whisper makes your fire fall down. There's no other name, the name that stands through the ages. There's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. There's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. Your word commands the wind and waves. Your touch revives the sick and lame. Your power wakes the dead again, and your love destroys the grip of sin. That's right, yeah. Oh, your love destroys the grip of sin. There's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. There's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. Come on, there's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. There's no other name, there's no other name like yours, Jesus, like yours, Jesus. Every knee will bow, and every tongue confess the name of Jesus. Every knee will bow, and every tongue confess the name of Jesus. Oh, every knee will bow, and every tongue confess the name of Jesus. Oh, every knee will bow, and every tongue confess the name of Jesus.
Blame. It's also a habit. Wow, it's still hot. I think it's in the, there it is. It's good. I look at that and I wonder, what does my Twitter stuff sound like? I mean, it's the most important stuff in your life, isn't it? How many of y'all don't even know what Twitter is? Oh, there's a few of you. Okay, that's good. I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like Facebook, but not. A lot like Instagram, but not the same. You post on one, you post on all. Anyway, it's the story of your life, basically. It's so that you can let everybody else know what's going on in just a few words. I mean, it's literally how all of us get all of our political knowledge. We are smart because of it. There you go. So that's what that was about. But that last thing, this changes everything. This changes everything. It's kind of cool. We're actually going to talk about a little bit of Thomas this morning, a whole lot of doubt. But I want you to remember that hashtag. This changes everything. Because for many of you, maybe you don't buy into most of this stuff. Maybe you're here because you're in town and family brought you, or it's Easter. You know, there seem, you know, we have a lot of that. That's fine. Around Christmas time and Easter time, you know, most people go to church. That's just how it is, and that's cool. So today, though, this is actually probably one of the best days to ever be in church, because Easter is the end run, we call it, around all of your objections to all of us. It takes away, it doesn't matter about religion, it doesn't matter about any of that. Easter is the end run. Easter answers all your questions in one single solitary event that changed everything. We're here to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. It's something that's undeniable. Everyone on the planet knows it happened. There is no arguing about it, and nobody cares how. It just happened. And that's what we go into today. That's why you're really all here. So I encourage you today to be, if you've been one of those kind of leaning into Christianity and wondering, I don't know. I mean, you know what? I've watched everybody grow up. I've watched how they act. You know, maybe you've met, you know, like I said, a couple of us, you know, out on the street and decided, never mind. Today, block all that out and focus on that one thing, and let's make that end run around, and let's be open to what Jesus could be saying to you today, and let it change everything. I just want to tell you that while we're celebrating all of this, I want to deal with a very important question, and I believe it hits one of the most important topics in our faith community. Yet, honestly, it's one of the least talked about. We're going to talk about spiritual doubt. And you could be here as a Christian and have spiritual doubts. You could be here as a non-Christian and have a lot of spiritual doubts. And that's okay. But Jesus actually asks the question, why do doubts rise in your mind? Now, good news for some of you, you would say that you don't have any problem with doubts at all, right? I mean, there's a couple of places where I grew up, and even around here sometimes, people will say, well, the Bible says it, I believe it, that settles it. Oh, good. So many of you are not from there. That's good. But the Bible says it, I believe it, that settles it, and there's no doubt in my mind. And they kind of march along with certain things in their life that they actually don't doubt about, and they kind of put all their eggs, pardon the pun, in that basket of the few things that they say they don't doubt, and they don't pay attention to the other doubts, and they don't watch their life and actually realize if their life is saying that they doubt or not. So I want you to know I'm naturally a little more skeptical. I really am. I mean, and it might sound weird coming from the guy up front trying to tell you don't doubt, but I naturally have skepticism, which plays out good in that whole social media thing, because I, for one, believe zero things I read in social media. Zero. I don't care if it's the weather, right? I don't believe any of it. I mean, we went through this phase within the last year or so, where people would run up to me and they would show me things, and I'm not a big genius, but even I could look at the video and tell it was fake. Right? And people kind of dive into that. So I'm naturally just completely skeptical of all social. But in all areas of my life, I'm that way. And it's just a natural tendency to be. And in the Christian world, the problem is many people look at you and go, well, if you have doubts, then you probably don't belong in the club. If you can't not have any doubts at all, you may not belong here. Well, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to come a complete opposite direction. And I'm going to say if you can't overcome, or if you haven't had to overcome some doubts, some real doubts, maybe you haven't experienced real, genuine faith. Because we're going to look at today is a guy who had real, genuine doubts, but those genuine, real doubts built his faith to a real, substantial level, and it changed everything about him and his whole life. In fact, growing up, I'm pretty sure I was the first kid in our church to have spiritual doubts. Well, I couldn't talk about it. My dad was the preacher. You want to have doubts, just live with a preacher. Ask my kids, right? They see it all, right? Everybody see, you see the real thing, But I remember going through this time in my life. I got baptized when I was 11 because we had a really cool bathtub. A really cool baptismal pool. It was steel. And it was like this deep, like on me now, like really deep. And I remember when I got baptized, I just wanted to get baptized so that when I got done, I could go underwater and swim underwater over to the ladder. We used to sneak in there and play in that thing all the time. It was so fun. So that's the reason I got baptized, and that's the reason I'm here today. So welcome to East Baptist. I got baptized again, so don't worry about it. It took the second time. First time was for fun. Second time was for good. But I remember sitting in that it was a little country church. I remember it. And I remember going, what if this is real? What if we're all wrong? What if I didn't know the word crutch, but I can remember thinking about going, what are we doing? I grew up in that church where you sit down, stand up, and you stood for songs. We had songs called hymns. Now, I don't know if you know anything about that, but they were songs, and hymn means songs out of a book, evidently. And we had these books, and we had hymns, and there was always 4 verses to a hymn. Y'all know that? But we only sang 3 of them, first, second, and last. I don't know what the 3rd verse did to everybody. And I used to always read that 3rd verse because I thought maybe there were dirty words in it or something. I really don't laugh at me. You looked up in the... Side note, you looked up in the Bible the word ass, didn't you? Because you wanted to find out if it was printed. And it's in there. One time, Jacob hit him with the jawbone of a... Oh, I used to read that in church all the time and go... That's funny. Now I say stuff that makes that sound pale, but that's okay. So anyway, I remember just going, man, this probably ain't... I don't know. And I would go home. Literally, I would go home. And I would test God. Growing up, they gave me that, if you got faith of a mustard seed, you could move mountains. Well, I didn't get that ambitious. But I would lay in my bed, and I would have these little toy figures. I'd put them up on the shelf, and I'd go and I'd lay in my bed, and I'd be like, do it. Just move one of them. I know, it looks like what I'm doing, yeah. And sometimes I did when I was trying to concentrate. Catch up, go ahead. Yeah. But no, I'd try to move those little army men. Just, come on. If you're God, I'll be a missionary if you'll do it. Just, come on. Sometimes I would go to sleep. My last prayer would be when I wake up, just have it moved over a little bit. Now, my parents weren't very attentive because if my kids did that, I'd probably sneak in the middle of the night and move that sucker. But, yeah, Bubby, nothing says control like God's watching, I'm telling you. They never did it. I've never done it. But it never happened. You ever notice that? I'm going to be real for a minute. All the stuff I've ever said to God for him to prove that he's real has never happened. For me, it never happened. And what that did was built in a few more doubts in my life. It really did. That non-moving army man, it built in more doubt. That's all it did. Because I didn't really understand it. I didn't work through it. I just kind of let it settle on me. And maybe you're here today and you've let some doubts just kind of settle on you. There's some things that you don't quite understand about God and you're letting them settle on you. You're not dealing with them. You're letting them settle on you. And for many people, you're a bad Christian. You're a bad person because you have those doubts. You're just not willing to let it go. But for today, let's just think, if you were to deal with them, if you were to kind of dig into them, not let them settle on you, but settle them, your faith would grow deeper. Your faith would get stronger. If you've been asking, what if this isn't true? What if this whole God thing isn't true? Or maybe it's true, but what if he's just not involved in my life? You know, I can get behind the fact that God's there. There's big. I mean, it didn't take a big genius to figure out that this whole thing that we're living in here was created by something a lot smarter than we were, right? That one's not too hard of a deal to sell people, right? But him being personally involved in your life on a day-to-day basis, that's a little harder to sell to even yourself sometimes. I mean, have you not had those days where you're like, I don't know. You're not really existing in my life today. Maybe you doubt that you've done too much for him to care. You ever said that? Well, I believe there's a God and I believe you can understand him, but you don't know what I've done. There's no way he's going to tune into me. Do you have that kind of doubt? Maybe you're like the rest. There's a group of people out there that say, unashamedly, we believe there's zero chance that there's a God. And some of us don't say that. But our life might say something a little different. We might actually live a few days of the week like God's not there. Like he doesn't even exist. Think about it. What have you done this week and not involved God in it? What have you been a part of? What have you thought about that didn't have God in the center of it? Now, if you're at 100%, I can retire. You can preach. Because it's doubtful that you're actually at 100%. And those doubts can build your faith. It's in people's lives who's watching, but it's also your life is nothing but a big old doubt. Your words are saying one, but your body and your life saying, nah, God's not really paying attention. It didn't change everything. It changed a lot, but it didn't change everything. Poor Thomas. Thomas got 12 verses in the whole Bible. And out of that, he became the greatest doubter ever known. I mean, his nickname is Doubting Thomas. I mean, you can't even say Thomas without talking about doubting. And I used to give him so much grief, man. I'd be like, dude, he told you what was going to happen. I mean, you followed him around. You watched him do all these miracles. You watched him, he fed 5,000. He healed blind people. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff. And then he dies like he told you he was going to do it. And then he rose again like he told you he was going to do. And then here you are just wandering up going, I don't believe it. And I'm like, really? I mean, anybody else wanted to go back in time and just slap Thomas? Yeah, I did. I used to want to do that until I figured out I'm worse than Thomas. My life exhibits qualities that are worse than Thomas prior to his faith getting built better. Just branded doubter. But he ended up, the biggest doubter became one of the greatest faith guys